Hello and welcome to coverage of Grand Prix Atlanta. Marshall Sutcliffe in the booth with Zach Hill. A friendly handshake there between Jon Stern from Canada, Tomoharu Saito from Japan. Red-white aggressive versus blue-green. These are two of the top decks in the format. We're in draft here. Golden Hind, one of the ideal starts for Jon Stern. We were talking about it a minute ago, Zach. I'm thinking a Golden Hind or a Kyora's follower is absolutely key to the success, and look at that stop sign he's been able to put up with Ravenous Lucracota. Saito just windmills that Minotaur onto the battlefield, attacks for 4, and Stern declines the trade there.
Yeah, Lucracota basically the best possible for Jon there. Able to get it out on turn 3 with the Hind, the 2/4 vigilance, so he's able to pressure Saito. 4 toughness, so he's able to block. I mean, that is exactly what Stern needs to do to win this match.
Yeah, that's awesome for Jon Stern. He's going to get in there for 2 damage. Saito's going to take it. What's the follow-up play? Well, he's got both the Kyora's follower and the Golden Hind here, and he's even got a 2-drop that he can use for blocks or even attacking if he wants. It's Deepwater Hypnotist. So a cracking start here for Jon Stern. Look at that. He's got 7 permanents on the battlefield already.
And it's the 4th turn of the game. I mean, that blows my mind. I mean, every single start we've seen from Stern, we've seen turn 2 Kyora's follower over and over and over again. We see Hind proving exactly why it is the top-rated green common in Journey into Nyx. A lot of people say it's the top common, period. Flooding the board with permanents. I mean, Saito, you know, turn 2, 2-2, turn 3, 4-2 with haste, and just way behind right here. I mean, crazy start from Stern.
Yeah, fantastic start from Stern. Now, Saito, though, has Wingsteed Rider in his hand. There's also any number of combat tricks. I know he's got a couple of Rise to the Challenges. Those can make short work of Jon Stern's defenses here, especially like the Ravenous Lucracota. That thing can get chewed up pretty easily. But no, it's going to be a Blade Tusk Boar here for Saito, because that's going to be able to attack and apply pressure through any defenses that Jon comes up with that are blue or green. So pretty much his whole deck. I don't think he has like a random Bronze Sable floating around in there or anything like that. So
Yeah.
pretty nice to start getting some offense going for Saito, but right now he's behind. I mean,
Yeah,
Stern's ahead.
Yeah, as Stern can attack for 2, 4, 6, 8 points of damage, and Saito doesn't have any profitable blocks. He can throw, I mean, he can throw the 2/2s in the way, you know, but he's trading. He's not eating anything, and I love this attack with a Hypnotist because that sets up a huge attack next turn. If he's able to get the Inspired trigger and double breaching Hippocamp from Jon, makes it really, really hard for Saito to block here.
Wow.
Or his creatures just die.
So Jon Stern able to use Breaching Hippocamp to untap his Deepwater Hypnotist, getting the Inspired trigger, giving a creature -3/-0 until end of turn. He can do that now when he's attacking. He can wait till until his opponent attacks him, shrink something down at instant speed, maybe nullify a combat trick or just take a creature out of combat altogether.
Yeah, I kind of like getting in with Lucracota there, because if your opponent double blocks it, you can just do your same Hippocamp trick. Now he's not going to do it, obviously, because Saito played around it.
Wow, but he's got Prognostic Sphinx here. Who needs a 4th or a 5th land, Jon Stern says. He's just fine having missed 2 land drops. That just means he has more spells in hand, and since he's got enough mana to work with, he's got Prognostic Sphinx, which is going to be a big roadblock here, as Saito's really going to have a tough time dealing with that. And as we saw at the Pro Tour and Block, once you start attacking with that Sphinx, you get those Scry 3s, and it's almost like stacking the top of your deck. You can get to exactly what you need.
Yeah, also that 3/5 combines very well with Stern's triple time to feed. One of the only drawbacks of time to feed is that A, you need a lot of toughness, and B, you need to make sure they don't kill your creature in response. Sphinx deals with all of that. Saito getting some offense down, 3/2 from Blade Tusk Boar, dropping Stern to 13, but it's going to be a big attack from Stern on his turn.
All right, Wingsteed Rider for Saito is going to help bolster his offense a little bit, because assuming here that Stern's going to be attacking. Now, this could get interesting. Rise to the Challenge could be a thing here, Seth.
That's exactly what I was going to say, Marshall, is that Rise to the Challenge gives him a 5/3 first strike in the air, meaning that Jon would have to have a trick of his own to deal with that Sphinx. Now, a trick from Jon would 2-for-1 Saito, but I still think you have to go for it. I mean, dealing with the Sphinx and preventing it from attacking over and over is just so valuable. And the more resources Stern spends fighting on, you know, the axis of the Sphinx, the Wingstreed Rider, the more you just hit him upside the head with Blade Tusk Boar until the game ends.
I know that Jon's also got a Curse of the Swine in his deck.
Yep.
Which would be pretty nice here to turn the Blade Tusk Boar and the Wingseed Rider into lowly 2/2s. Oh,
wow.
Speak of the Devil. There it is. Curse of the Swine exiles both of those, turns them into significantly less impressive creatures. 2/2 boars.
I really want to see some boar tokens, because the boar token in this set is the most adorable thing in the entire universe.
It's just a pig. It's just a straight up pig.
pig.
It's awesome.
Yeah, you want to give it a hug. It's got like Arma on. Yeah, it's like
Arnold
Babe.
the pig.
Yeah.
There it is.
Zaw.
That is cute.
Got a little helmet. The only thing cuter than animals is animals with hats. But
Prognostic Sphinx now gets to safely get into the red zone, and that first Scry 3 has gone on, and as you can see, Jon just shipped 3 cards to the bottom of his library. I mean, it is so powerful to be able to scry. Like, it gets so much more powerful the more you add on. Like, Scry 1's pretty good. Scry 2 is excellent, and Scry 3 is just awesome. I mean, it is, like, game-changing.
Scry 3 is definitely #devastating. And when you're trading 3,
yes, devastating,
and your opponent just cannot get any damage through, you see a Crow and Mastiff, one of the only good answers to Prognostic Sphinx. But by that point, Jon will have scryed 6 cards. He's trying to get some lands. He's got 6 mana, almost able to level up that Lucracota.
Yeah, I think he just drew a forest for the turn as well. So
wow.
I think the Lucracota is going to get ready to get into the red zone. It is interesting, though, if it does, because Saito does have some blocks. Let's see here. He's got 2, 4, 6. Doesn't really want to put the Mastiff in front. 7, which is just enough to kill it. If he puts all of them in front, he would lose 2 of his creatures in that transaction if nothing else went wrong. It's not that bad, I guess.
5, 6. Yeah, I mean, you could deal with 2 boars. I mean, I still like it. Lewis C. Ricotta also just presenting a big threat means that Saito has to, it doesn't have anything great to tap down with the Hound.
Lewis
C. Ricotta. I think I got a business card from someone.
I love that, yeah.
Owns an Italian restaurant.
All right, so Scry 3 being resolved here by Jon Stern.
At this point, he's keeping a card. Yeah, all you want to see when your opponent is scrying is them just shipping cards to the bottom of the deck. That means they haven't found what they're looking for. Anytime they keep something, Scry 1, you keep something, you're like, whatever, it's a spell. If you keep something on a Scry 3, you know that it is good.
Right.
A lot of mana open from Stern. We see threatening that Fleet Feather Cockatrice. Also, Breaching Hippocamp really does a lot of good work in Stern's deck with a double Deepwater Hypnotist. Also makes it hard for Saito to attack through that Prognostic Sphinx. Also can get him a free Scry. I mean, the Hound can tap Sphinx down, but Jon could just say, nope, fish horse time. Time to attack you for 3 more points of damage and scry 3 more cards. See a fly.
Yeah.
Top the deck. It's a counter. Yeah. So Saito here really deep in the tank. Kind of hard to figure out what he can put together. He's got a board full of permanents, but not really a good way to get through the Lucracota. Hind and Follower at this point not unhappy, just trading. Saito doesn't have Stern at a low enough life total to be able to use that Hound aggressively, I think.
Jon Stern's at 13. Saito's at 12. Oh, wow. Ninja Judge Hand enters the frame, one-shots the fly.
That is the
and
most
we're back.
impressive thing
That was
I've seen
incredible.
in the last 6 months.
That was fantastic. I've never been able to do that in my whole life.
Yeah, I've tried to do that since I was a wee lad. Utterly failed. Didn't even have to get gross bug guts on a magic card because it was on a token. This is why your judges, your elite trained staff here at Grand Prix.
I mean, they tell you when in doubt, call a judge, right? It worked.
Sometimes they show up in the middle of a field if they're Toby.
It's true.
Oh, here it is.
All right, so end step. We were thinking Ravenous Lucracota might get monstrous here, but no. It's another threat.
Another monstrous
Fleet Feather Cockatrice. Yeah, and it can get monstrous, and that can start applying serious pressure even through the Crowan Mastiff.
And, lots of evasive beats now. 6
Pretty
points
nice,
in
too.
the air.
Yeah, which is obviously really important considering that Saito's on 12. So, I mean, at some point, does Saito actually have to start tapping down the Fleet Feather Cockatrice here just to not die in 2 turns?
Yeah, I mean, I think so, and that's the thing. I mean, you either let your opponent scry 3 or you take 6 damage.
All right, he actually tapped the Lucre Coda down here?
I mean, yeah, I guess that what that allows him to do is just set up a big attack. I think he's going to just try to draw some way to push through, force Jon to tap his creatures.
He's also representing Divine Verdict here. Maybe he can get Jon Stern to dump his whole entire turn into the Monstrous on Fleet Feather Cockatrice, and then he can destroy him with the Divine Verdict.
Marshall, I think you're exactly right.
Yeah, that would be a pretty nice play there from Saito, and it would explain why he's tapping the Lucre Coda over anything else, but no.
I mean, and if you're Jon, you can't tap your 2 blockers to do that. I mean, the Divine Verdict's part of the reason, but also just, I mean, Saito has 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 9 power worth of attackers.
Yeah, absolutely, and that can turn into a lot more very quickly. Rise of Eagles, again, the reason why he's going for that here is because it gets him more blockers.
Right. Rich just wrote down truly the most embarrassing pun.
It was. Meanwhile, though, our game has ended here. Jon Stern has taken game 1 of the final, so he is just 1 game win away from his 2nd GP title in a pretty short period of time.
Yeah, a completely unbelievable start from Stern, and this is why Golden Hind, cards like Kiora's Follower, are so good. Just able to flood the board with permanents, have access to 6 mana while your opponent's on 3. It's really easy to translate that into a tempo advantage from which your opponent can't recover.
That's right, and you know, we mentioned that before when we were talking about sort of keys to the game from Jon Stern's side, and sure enough, that's exactly what happened. He was able to get that 2-mana accelerator and just put out stuff that was consistently bigger than what his opponent was able to do. Now, if he doesn't have that kind of start, though, we don't see that Lucre Coda down, Saito's going to be able to smash in for way, way more damage and put Jon on the back foot, where even if he gets to the point where he thinks he's stable, it might just be too late.
Now, I'm looking at Saito's list. What Saito doesn't have are cards like Magma Spray, Magma Jet, Lightning Strike that can kill those mana accelerants early. He interestingly has a Searing Blood, but isn't playing it.
No, he's only on 7 mountains.
7 mana, mountains, 9 plains. So he's running a 16 land, very, very aggressive deck. 2 copies of Rise to the Challenge. A lot of just cheap 2-mana creatures, land and snare casters. So he's looking to just play the most aggressive game possible. Leverages Spear of Heliod, leverages Ordeal of Heliod. Just end the game very fast. So, I mean, Golden Hind, Kiora's Follower, exactly how Stern needs to start. And really able to threaten with Deepwater Hypnotist at instant speed makes attacking hard for Saito as well. But really that was basically the best possible draw from Stern's side of the board.
Let's take a look at our upcoming webcast schedule. Throughout the summer, we're going to have a lot of great Magic action for you here on the video stream. GP Manchester, the second half of the Theros block constructed story. That's May 31st through June 1st. Moscow and Chicago are both standard on back-to-back weekends in the middle of June. At the end of June, we've got 2 GPs on the same weekend, one of them in DC, one of them in Milan, both of them limited. And then we've got GP Boston Worcester, that's modern, at the end of July, which is going to bring us to the Pro Tour just a week after that. Pro Tour Magic 2015 in Portland, Oregon, standard plus Magic 2015 draft, August 1st through 3rd. We will see you at one or all of those.
I'm looking at Saito's list again. He's only got 16 lands despite having a lot of 4-drops. Interestingly, drawing first against Stern, I think, makes that mana ratio a lot more palatable. I'm wondering if, you know, I'm looking at his pairings. He got paired, he got seated higher against Wijaya. But if Fennell beat Murdoch and Stern or Billy Jensen, who I think have to have been considered the favorites there, won any of their matches, Saito would have known that he would have been on the draw for the semifinal and the final. I wonder if that just inspired him to play 16 lands, saying, okay, I'm going to be on the draw a lot. I need to have a higher spell density.
Interesting. I wonder if he's going to go up to 17 lands here out of the board as well. Maybe put in an extra mountain, try to get that Searing Blood in there. Card is so good against Jon Stern. It kills just two of his absolutely most important creatures.
I think you absolutely have to. I mean, it's just so powerful. Meanwhile, your Minotaur Skull Cleaver is pretty weak. You know, when your opponent's just playing a bunch of 2-mana 2/2s, they get you through the Oak Crown Dryads, they get you through Lucricata, so maybe you keep them in there. Pretty weak otherwise, and I think you just really do want Searing Blood. I mean, it just kills so much, and it gives you a big tempo swing. Starfall also in Saito's sideboard. Not the greatest removal spell, but a lot of people are just saying, oh, it's removal, I've got to play it. Really, not that many straight-up removal spells from Saito. We see 3 Akroan Mastiffs, Singular Bolt of Kuranos, and Divine Verdict basically being the only thing Saito uses to get creatures out of the way. Spear of Heliod, sort of a removal spell, but the principal use of that card is definitely to make your creatures huge. Trying to find Stern's deck list right here to see if any interesting sideboarding going on. Nothing as immediately evident as the Searing Blood. Plus, you won your first game. You don't want to shake things up a whole lot.
Players are getting ready to present here, presenting decks, and we are going to be underway in Game 2 very shortly here. It's been a long, tough weekend for these players. This is their 3rd draft of the day, and they're in the finals of that draft.
Yeah, not any real obvious sideboarding stands out to me. The Divination doesn't seem that great in this matchup, but not really a whole lot of depth. I mean, I could board it in for a Satyr Wayfinder, try to block some more creatures against Saito, but
nothing great, huh?
Yeah, I think Stern's most likely to just leave his deck basically the same.
All right, I saw a Golden Hind in Jon Stern's opener, some islands. I don't know if he has a forest or not, but assuming if he does, we're going to see a keep from him. And there's Mountain. So we have both players kept. Ravenous Lucricota off the top there for Jon Stern. No 2-drop from Saito at all.
It was really slow start from Saito.
Yeah, that's strange. He's got 1s and 2s in that deck, and there it is. Golden Hind survives the end step. Is it going to survive the turn? Because we saw what happened last time.
Saito got to deploy a permanent here. He's just going to fall so far behind. He's got lands in his hand. Just saw him draw Rise to the Challenge. Might just have a whole lot of tricks. I saw an Akroan Mastiff. That is not exactly an aggressive start.
Saito's still considering his options for the turn. He has a land drop to make. There it is.
Okay.
And once again, Minotaur Skull Cleaver hits the red zone here for 4, and Stern actually considers blocking, decides to pass it up. We're not surprised by that. If he was land flooded, he might consider blocking there, but Golden Hind's so powerful here. He can play that Lucricota right now.
And does he have it again? Yeah, Lucricota, just again, as we said, one of the most important possible cards in this matchup. Looking at his deck, he only has 1 copy of Lucricota, but it is just exactly what he needs.
Yeah, Lou shows up when you need him.
Lou is really a dependable guy. You know, he gets a high performance review. He's not necessarily the best guy on your team, but when you need something done, you know, he's working extra hours. Should draw a little necktie on him.
You want a necktie? Yeah, he looks like he could wear one. A ricotta. So Saito now has an opponent that's tapped out, but with a 2/4. We know he's got 2 Rise to the Challenges in his deck. He could certainly try to represent one of those here. I see he's got a Wingsteed Rider in his hand too, though. And there it is, and he's just going to have to pass the turn back.
I am floored by Saito not just jamming an attack in with that 2/2.
I'm surprised too.
I think Stern's got to realize how powerful that Lucricota is. He has no defense. You're a red-white deck. I know that Saito badly wants to cast the 2/2 this turn, and certainly it's hard to argue with anyone who decides to play the best white common in Theros and arguably in the block as their turn. But I think Saito could have snuck in 2 damage, and really killing the Lucricota is not a bad place to be, given how powerful that card is in this matchup. At the same time, I see what Saito's doing. He's just like, okay, I'm going to get a flyer on the board. I don't really care about the 2/4 necessarily.
Right.
It's kind of a different line.
But he might, you know, he might be seeing his avenue to victory as that Wingsteed rider and just going to kind of ignore what's going on. I mean, he's a little ahead on the damage race, having hit Jon for 4 already with that cleaver. He can take the 2 from this thing and not be super worried about it.
And it does look like Saito has an Akroan Mastiff, so he has a way of being able to deal with the Luke Rakota if he's able to get enough time and mana. I mean, Luke only hitting for 2 every turn, so Saito has time to cast a Mastiff, start activating it. Just doesn't want Stern to be able to deploy any more big threats to the battlefield. Ooh.
Wow.
Huge time
to feed. Who's hungry?
Louis is.
Lou's hungry, and he wants some Wingsteed rider for lunch here. And unless, Saito has nothing to respond with. And not only is it a 3 life gain swing for Jon, which is also important here considering how aggressive Tomoharu Saito's deck is, it gets his most potent threat off the game in a pretty nice fashion. Really brutal there for Saito.
Mr. and/or Mrs. Krakota back home saying it's dinner time.
Yeah.
Louis, big mouth actually, can eat a lot of food. Wingsteed rider is a preeminent part of his diet.
Absolutely. A Akroan Mastiff now for Saito. That can help stem the bleeding as far as the attacks from Jon Stern go. Not bad. But not particularly aggressive either, right? I mean, I think that the feeling starts to get a little bit more dire the longer the game goes for Saito. Is he's just applying 0 pressure to Jon Stern right now, and the assumption here is that Jon's deck is much more adept at just going over the top.
That is definitely...
Let's go over the top right now. Humbler of Mortals. Attack with the 2/4 Trampler.
Oh, I would double block so fast right now.
You would. Doesn't he need the Mastiff to keep that Humbler of Mortals at bay?
I think so, but the Mastiff is going to be, you know, I mean, we know we're in for the long game, right?
Mm-hmm.
So the Mastiff eventually is going to have to start tapping the Luke Rakota once Stern activates it.
Mm-hmm.
So
You might just want to trade it right now?
I think I'd like to just trade it right now because I know, I mean, I'd rather just not spend a mana every turn and open myself up to another time defeat on the Mastiff, which is just going to knock me right out of the game if that happens.
All right, he's not blocking though. 2 damage hits Tomoharu Saito, leaving the Mastiff up so that he can basically use 1 white mana and it to take care of that Humbler of Mortals indefinitely, at least until the Mastiff goes away. And you know what's better than 1 Mastiff? 2 of them. So a dog pack forming here for Saito, and he's going to be able to start controlling the board pretty nicely here as things move forward.
And that's one of the things, I mean, we'd normally assume the blue deck has the better long game, and certainly Stern has access to Prognostic Sphinx. But, I mean, Saito able to stabilize with a double Akroan Mastiff. He has 3 in his deck. So Saito in the long game, not exactly bad either, and he does have a slightly higher spell density due to the fact that he plays fewer lands. At least he starts fewer lands, and he's got you know, some pretty powerful late-game cards in his own right. I mean, that said, his deck definitely designed to be an aggressive deck, but, like, if you're blue-green, with Saito on a lot of life, it is not easy to beat a Spear of Heliod.
Yeah, it's not at all, and double Akroan Mastiff is going to do a great job at holding Jon Stern's big threats at bay, and Jon's just going to have to outdraw him at some point.
We also have to remember that Saito has access to Eidolon of Countless Battles, and the more the board gums up, the more unbeatable that card is. So I definitely would say that Stern likely to have a better long game, but I don't think it's as clear-cut as it would be if Saito was sort of a more traditionally aggressive red-white build with a lot of looser top decks.
Okay. Oakheart Dryads here is going to prompt a tap from Akroan Mastiff. And Ravenous Lukrikota gets into the red zone. Saito drops to 13. And Divination, wow, that's a nice one here.
Divination, you know, really brief line attacks draw 2 cards, but in a matchup like this, in a board state like this, that is precisely what you want to be doing.
Yeah, that's how Jon Stern can get ahead and stay ahead here. Remember, what he needs to do now is find his key big threats, and getting a Divination to help dig towards those is great, and he's already got one in his hand. I see that he's got the Fleet Feather Cockatrice.
Yeah, Cockatrice is huge, and the 7th land is huge, just being able to threaten activation on Luke Rakota, basically demanding Saito keep 2 mana up for those Mastiffs. We've gotten to the point now, we talked about Searing Blood, great early in the game, but not accomplishing a whole lot right now. Saito's active cards are basically Eidolon of Countless Battles, Divine Verdict, more Akroan Mastiffs, Dragon Mantle, probably pretty good right here.
Yeah, but I mean, even just in the upcoming turns, if nothing changes for Saito, Jon Stern can actually start applying pressure with the Oakheart Dryads even.
Yeah, yeah, that's a good point. Doesn't have much defense. I mean, Saito really needs Spear of Heliod right now.
Yeah, even Golden Hind, this is where it starts to really shine because we've already seen how powerful it was in the early game. It was instrumental in the game 1, and it's absolutely crushing game 2. He can actually just start beating down with it once he has enough lands where he doesn't need it.
Yeah, exactly. Saito doesn't have any really profitable blocks, and he's at 13. So, you know, I mean, Stern more than willing to trade his 2-1 now that he has a ton of mana for really anything on Saito's side of the board.
Exactly.
You have to expect the game is Fleet Feather Cockatrice slash, getting in with Oakheart Dryad, nickel and diming with Golden Hind. Saito really on the back foot here, not a great place to be.
All right, so let's go to attacks. Tap your Humbler, tap your Lucakota. And Jon Stern really doesn't have to do anything here.
Yeah.
He can just attack with Dryads and Golden Hind if he wants, though. He doesn't have that 7th mana to get the Lucakota to Monstrous yet.
Right, yeah, I like leaving back Hind just to Monstrous Krakota, make good use of your mana.
All right, and here is Rise to the challenge to try to take down the Oakheart Dryads, but I mean, it's just not that big of a deal. Jon Stern can save it. It looks like he's going to. What does he have? Mortal's Resolve, Savage Surge. So Savage Surge is going to untap it, and he's going to get a 2-for-1 off of it, and things are spiraling out of control for Saito here. Jon Stern looks to be in fantastic position to win his 2nd GP in the last few years here.
And I think
it's not over yet, but he's getting pretty close.
He is getting close. I think after that, too, you've got to take this window to time defeat. You've already baited out a trick from Saito. The likelihood that he has a couple more, and you 2-for-1 him, so you don't even care that much if he has a trick. I mean, I think you really, really want to be able to eat one of those Akroan Mastiffs.
So Jon Stern has time defeat in hand?
It looks like he does.
Oh, wow, okay.
Yeah, I mean, Stern
he's not going to do it, though. It looks like he wants to go for the Fleet Feather Cockatrice instead.
Mana Accelerant into Lucakota. I mean, Jon Stern has had some very, very good opening hands.
Yeah.
It seems like every time we're looking at him, he's got a 2-mana Mana Accelerant into a 4-drop. Lucakota exactly the card that he needs in this matchup.
All right, and there's Spear Point Oriad, but he can't even bother with the bestow cost because he needs to leave white mana up for those Akroan Mastiffs, and there's Fleet Feather Cockatrice. I'm curious when he picked that up in the draft. Did he move in immediately? Did he first pick a Golden Hind, get past it a little later? We'll have to ask him later.
I think what we heard, I think Randy mentioned this, is that he first picked it because the only other card in the pack he wanted was Hubris. So if he was going to go blue, and blue-green the best color combination, and you don't want to take a blue card and ship Cockatrice, immediately on your left. So he just said, okay, I'm going to go for the raw card power.
Okay, so tap. Lucakota is now active and can attack here. And frankly, it's almost expendable at this point. Like, Saito has 1 card left in his hand, and you wouldn't mind just getting that card out of his hand so you know exactly what you're dealing with.
Yeah, you battle, I think, with Lucakota and Oak Crown Dryads here. Oakheart Dryads.
Yep.
You got 7 mana up. I'm thinking Leaf Crown Dryad. I think.
Yeah.
But, a lot of Dryads. Yeah, and here we go. I mean, just Stern just firmly in command this entire match.
Here we go.
Yeah.
Time to feed. Humbler of Mortals is hungry, and he's eating Mastiff tonight. So Akroan Mastiff down, hits the graveyard. Things getting really bad for Saito, and that's going to do it. Whose turn is it? It's Jon Stern.
Oh, my
We have a winner.
Oh, my.
Team face-to-face games. Jon Stern is our champion here in Atlanta.